Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest one? Walk into any boardroom, any family gathering, any group of friends. The person talking the most, laughing the loudest, filling every gap in the conversation. They're not the one people are secretly watching. It's the quiet one. The one who says 3 sentences the entire meeting. And somehow those 3 sentences are the ones everyone remembers. For most of your life, you've probably been told the opposite. Speak up. Be visible. Sell yourself. Fill the silence or someone else will. And in a world addicted to noise, notifications, opinions, hot takes, constant chatter, silence feels almost like a weakness. Like you're falling behind. Like if you're not talking, you're not being seen. But science tells a very different story. Silence isn't absence. It's not empty space waiting to be filled. Silence is a tool, and the people who understand how to use it end up with more influence, more clarity, and more control over their own lives than the people who never stop talking. Today we're going to break down exactly why silence makes you more powerful, what's happening in your brain and in the brains of people around you when you choose not to speak, and how you can start using this quietly devastating skill in your own life. Part 1. The brain fills the gap for you. Here's something most people don't realize. When you stop talking mid-conversation, when you pause instead of rushing to fill the silence, the human brain does something automatic. It starts working to fill that gap, not with more of your words, but with its own thoughts. Psychologists call this a discomfort response. Silence in conversation creates a kind of tension, and most people can't tolerate that tension for more than a few seconds. So what happens? The other person starts talking. They over-explain. They reveal more than they intended to. They fill your silence with their own information.
This is one of the oldest tricks used by hostage negotiators, therapists, and interrogators, not to manipulate, but to genuinely let people arrive at their own truth. When you stay quiet after someone finishes speaking, you're not being awkward. You're creating a vacuum, and vacuums pull things toward them. People rush in with clarification, with honesty, with the real reason behind what they just said. Meanwhile, the person who never stops talking gives away everything. Every word is a piece of information handed over for free. Every reaction, every emotional outburst, every unfiltered thought is data that other people can use, judge, or exploit. Silence protects you from that. It keeps your cards close while everyone else is playing with their hands face up. Part 2. Silence signals status. Here's something researchers have found across cultures and species, not just in humans. In social hierarchies, the individuals with the most power often speak the least, and when they do speak, everyone listens. Think about it in your own life. In a meeting, who talks more? The intern trying to prove themselves, or the CEO who's already proven everything? The intern feels the need to justify their presence with words. The CEO doesn't need to. Their silence isn't insecurity. It's the opposite. It's a kind of unspoken confidence that says, I don't need to convince you of anything. My presence is enough. This is why constant talking, oversharing, and the need to fill every silence is often read, consciously or unconsciously, as a lower status behavior. It signals anxiety. It signals a need for approval. Powerful people have nothing to prove, so they don't rush to prove it. There's a reason old wisdom across nearly every culture says some version of the same thing. Empty vessels make the most noise. It's not a coincidence that this idea shows up again and again throughout history. People instinctively understood something science is only now confirming. Restraint reads as strength, and excess reads as weakness. Part 3. The cognitive cost of constant talking. Talking isn't free. Every time you speak, you're spending mental energy, organizing thoughts, monitoring how you're being perceived, managing tone, choosing words, reading the room in real time. It's a lot of simultaneous processing, and most people do it constantly, all day, without ever giving their brain a break. Silence, on the other hand, is recovery. When you go quiet, really quiet, not scrolling your phone quiet, but present and still, your brain shifts into a different mode. Mental clutter starts to settle. The constant noise of reactive thinking slows down, and something more useful takes over: reflection. This is why some of the most important decisions in history weren't made in the middle of conversation. They were made in silence, in the space after the meeting ended, in the quiet walk home, in the early morning before anyone else woke up. Silence gives your brain room to actually think instead of just react. People who never sit in silence are almost always operating in reactive mode. They respond to whatever's in front of them, a message, a comment, an emotion, without ever stepping back to process it. Over time, this creates a kind of mental fog. Decisions get made from stress, not clarity. Words get said that can't be taken back. The people who build real power in their lives, in business, in relationships, in their own minds, protect their silence the way other people protect their money. They know it's not empty time. It's the time where everything else gets processed. Part 4. Silence as a boundary. There's another layer to this that most people never think about. Silence isn't just about strategy or status. It's also about self-respect. Every time you feel pressured to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to explain yourself, to fill an awkward pause because someone else seems uncomfortable, you are handing a piece of your control to someone else. You're letting their discomfort dictate your behavior. Learning to sit in silence, even when it feels tense, even when every instinct is screaming at you to say something, is one of the most powerful boundaries you can build. It says, I don't know an explanation just because you're waiting for one. I don't have to respond just because you asked a question I don't want to answer. My silence is allowed to exist, and you don't get to fill it for me. This is especially true in arguments. The person who stays calm and quiet while the other person escalates almost always comes out looking more in control, because they are. Anger needs a reaction to feed on. Silence starves it. You've probably seen this yourself. Someone yelling, and the other person just not yelling back. Just watching, waiting. And somehow that non-reaction is more unsettling than any comeback could ever be. Part 5. How to actually practice this. Understanding this is one thing. Practicing it is another. So here's what this looks like in real life. Start small. In your next conversation, when you finish making a point, resist the urge to keep talking to fill the space. Just stop. Let the silence sit there, even if it feels uncomfortable for 3 or 4 seconds. Notice what the other person does. Most of the time, they'll fill it, and you'll learn something you wouldn't have learned otherwise. Next, before you respond to something that upsets you, a message, a comment, a piece of criticism, build in a pause. Not to suppress your feelings, but to actually access them instead of reacting from the surface. 10 seconds of silence before you respond can completely change what you end up saying. And outside of conversations, protect actual quiet time in your day. No podcast, no music, no phone. Just sit. It will feel strange at first, almost uncomfortable, because most of us have trained our brains to need constant input. But this is exactly the muscle that needs rebuilding. The people who can sit in silence without needing to escape it are the same people who can sit in stressful situations without needing to panic. Closing. Silence was never weakness. It was never something to fill or fix or apologize for. It's a signal of control, control over your own thoughts, your own reactions, your own need for approval. In a world that never stops talking, never stops reacting, never stops filling every gap with noise, the quiet ones are the ones actually paying attention. They're the ones thinking clearly while everyone else is reacting. They're the ones who walk away from a conversation having learned everything, while giving away almost nothing. So the next time you feel that urge to fill the silence, to explain yourself, to fix the awkwardness, to keep talking just because talking feels safer than stillness, try something different. Let it sit. Let it stretch. Watch what happens. Because the most powerful people in any room were never the ones talking the most. They were the ones who understood exactly when not to.